Hello YouTube, it is your boy, it is your Goy B3 back with another kicking, you guessed it, movie reaction review. I'm finally getting around to reviewing Aquaman. I actually didn't see it in theaters or anything. It just kind of didn't happen. It just didn't happen. But my mom, she and I like to watch movies together, so she'll pick up sometimes just a stack of movies and we'll watch them. And she got all the superhero stuff that she and I hadn't seen: Aquaman, Shazam, Captain Marvel. Well, those are the ones that I hadn't seen. There's more that she hasn't seen, like she hadn't seen Endgame and stuff. But she picked those up, and we watched Aquaman, and now I'm finally reviewing it. But before we get into this review, be sure to check out our sponsor for this video, ComicsPlusOfMacon.com. That is right. If you go there, you can get all kinds of dank collectibles. I mean, did I get this Aquaman figure from there? Let me think. Yeah, because this is the online store for my local comic shop, and I did in fact get this Aquaman there. Now that I think about it, that's pretty rad. So yeah, you'll be supporting a small American business if you shop there, plus you'll be supporting me, which is even more important. You'll be supporting me, which is even more important. But yeah, lots of cool collectibles on the website. Check it out. Use the coupon code in the description below for 10% off your order. So now let's get into the Aquaman movie. I feel like everyone I know thought that the Aquaman movie was either great or awful, which is super weird. Lots of casual, non-comic book fans thought it was a great movie, just so good. And then I have many friends who are big Aquaman fans, and some who aren't, but they're bigger comic fans, and they didn't seem to like the movie at all. And I found myself, oddly enough, right in the middle. I thought it was rather fun. I thought it was an enjoyable picture. But it's nothing to write home about, you know what I mean? Like, it was a fun watch. I could watch it again sometime, but it's nothing special, It's just okay. And that is okay. Not every movie has to be fucking Casablanca, and that's fine. I mean, it's better than a lot of movies. It's better than Justice League. It's better than Suicide Squad. It's better than Batman vs. Superman. I can tell you that with complete confidence. So, the main bit of this story seems to be based on the New 52's Throne of Atlantis arc, which has already been adapted into a movie. An animated movie? And it's not a bad animated movie, but I felt like the animated movie did not do Orm justice at all. And I feel like this movie did him a bit more justice, but not quite enough. Because in the Throne of Atlantis story in the Aquaman and Justice League crossover, Orm, aka Ocean Master, loves Aquaman. He cares about his brother, but they're being manipulated by Vulko into having this war so that Aquaman will be forced to overthrow Orm and become king. Because Vulko's like obsessed with Aquaman becoming the king. And that was so cool. There was so much emotion that brought to the table, and it feels like anyone adapting this story just straight up refuses to do that. I see why they didn't do it for the animated movie. I don't see why they didn't do that for this movie. That could have been an awesome twist. Vulko had an extremely heavy screen presence, thanks to William Dafoe. And whoever, wrote good. Vulko was present for almost the entire movie. I feel like they could have swung that, but they didn't. Now, they did make it where Orm was a bit more believable. His father led him astray with the teachings. He believed his mother a traitor, but still didn't want her dead. Whereas in the Justice League Throne of Atlantis movie, he straight up killed his mother in cold blood. But in this one, he did love his mother. And that's good, because spoiler alert, she does show up by the end of the movie. She's not dead, and it's very easy to predict she's not dead. One, if you read New 52 Aquaman, it's easy to predict she's not dead. Two, they keep talking about her being dead, and they won't shut up about it for the whole movie. oh, she's dead, she's dead, she's dead, she's dead. No one will shut up talking about it. And I was like, people are talking about her being dead a lot for us to not be shown anything related to her death, really. Which means she's absolutely alive. It was pretty predictable that she was alive, especially if you read the comic. And speaking of the comic, lots of the times, like, I'm going to compare this movie to the comics a lot. And oftentimes I try not to do that because I think movies should be able to stand on their own without the comics. But they tried to adapt multiple Aquaman stories from the New 52 into one big movie. They tried to adapt everything except maybe like Deep Water. I think that's the name of the big serpent dude that could turn into water. They didn't try to adapt the embassy part from the end of the New 52 because that wouldn't have made sense because he wasn't king yet, and etc. And all this stuff, because they tried to adapt Throne of Atlantis, and then they seemed to adapt a bit of Trench stuff, even though the Trench were in Throne of Atlantis. They did not play the same role that they did in the comics. But they also adapted, like, Seven Seas stuff, and they adapted the whole arc with him finding his mom in, like, another dimension. And all this, it adapted a lot. It could have just been Throne of Atlantis and been enough to be a whole movie. Especially if you did the whole his brother loves him and Volko's manipulating them thing. If he would have cut all that other stuff about his mom and, this trident, if you would have cut all this other stuff, then you would have had room for that more emotional story. But they didn't want to tell a very emotional story. They wanted to tell a very action-packed story. Not that you can blame them, because superhero movies are action movies. You know? But the action might get people into the theater, but it's those emotional moments and those character moments that bring people back. They bring people back. Also, I want to say the Trench were fucking horrifying. They were absolutely terrifying, and it was awesome. Lots of people are saying that the Trench getting their own movie is stupid, and it kind of is, but at the same time, they were really freaky, and I liked it. I liked the way the Trench were done. So, what else do we have to talk about? Special effects and makeup and etc. Costumes were on point. I thought all the costumes looked pretty damn good. I thought they looked pretty damn good. The CGI was a very mixed bag. Lots of kind of landscapes and stuff, like Atlantis and etc., were good CGI, and then characters themselves were really shitty CGI. Like, there was one point where it was a flashback of a young Aquaman training with Volko, learning how to swim like an Atlantean. And his shirt is CG, and it looked so bad, my mom and I laughed at it. We laughed at the movie. Because the CG on his shirt was so bad, we were making fun of it. But then, when they went into Atlantis in Mara's little vehicle, Atlantis looked really nice. And then, the mosasaurs and stuff they were riding looked really nice. But then sometimes it'd be like, what is this shit CGI that I'm looking at? But sometimes the CGI was good. And it's like, why wasn't it consistent? I would have rather had mediocre throughout than some good here and some awful here. Also, with that scene with his fucking animated shirt, why not just put the actor in a tank of water with a green screen or some shit? Look it around. Do it fucking Creature of the Black Lagoon style, you know? Like, jeez. I mean, I get this movie had to be animation heavy. It had to be CGI heavy just because of the nature of the sets and etc. in it, and just the way things moved underwater and stuff. This had to be a CGI heavy movie. This would have been an extremely difficult movie to do practically, and I'm not sure it would have been great. Even though, if you've watched my reviews, you know I'm a big advocate of practical effects. But this movie, needed to be CGI, and it was. So I don't have a complaint about the large amounts of CG. I just have a complaint about the inconsistency in the quality of the CG. And makeup, I guess, was alright, except for the fucking wigs. The wigs in this movie are terrible. Mara's wig's terrible. Aquaman's mom's wig when they first find her, that Journey to the Center of the Earth style, is awful. I mean, that hair was kind of supposed to look awful because it's hair that hasn't really been kept in like 2 decades, 3 decades. So it's different, but at the same time, it was very obviously a wig. And then also Mara's wig was just the worst. Oh my gosh, her hair looked good in Justice League. Did not look good in Aquaman. It did not. Now we're going to talk about the acting. Pretty good throughout. Had some fun moments. The script was serious, but it had some fun moments, which I feel like is what people want in their scripts these days for the most part. Especially in the type of movie like this. Marvel kind of set that standard. And I feel like this movie has a nice tone to it. The acting was good. And I want to talk about Aquaman's character. He's actually quite different than the comics, but it's a good different. It's like a fun different. He's like, I've heard lots of people call him Aqua Bro, and that's exactly what he is. He's a bro. But at the foundation, like in his heart, he's still the same Aquaman we know from the comics. He just has a bit of a different personality in these movies. And it's fine, and it works. And Jason Momoa does it very well. And I think the movie was cast well. Orm could have been a bit more convincing, but his character wasn't written that well anyways, so what you gonna do? And now I want to talk about one thing. I saved this till the end. Black Manta. One of my favorite supervillains of all time. Best moment in the movie was Black Manta's origin story, easily. I felt bad for him. I felt bad for the murderous sea pirate that I had only seen for a few minutes. That's an accomplishment for the film. It really is. And Aquaman leaving his dad to die. Not Aquaman leaving his own dad to die. Leaving Black Manta's dad to die, obviously. Really insane. And Black Manta getting his suit and all with Atlantean tech. And I feel like I'm always happy to see Black Manta because, once again, one of my favorite supervillains. He's so cool. But he was wasted. He was absolutely wasted in this movie. Aquaman's two biggest foes from the comics are Ocean Master and Black Manta. And you're going to put them both in the same movie? Yes, I know there was an after-credits scene showing Black Manta to still be alive after that big fight. That really dope fight, by the way. After that big fight. And sure, that could be set up for him. Maybe he'll be on Lex Luthor's team. I feel like that movie's not going to happen now with Lex Luthor and Deathstroke and the Injustice League and stuff. Because the DCEU is kind of on crutches at the moment. But they want to bring him back, which is good. Because if he would have died in this movie, and this would have been all we saw of Black Manta, I think I would have been pissed. He's Aquaman's arch nemesis. And I honestly think they should have just waited and done Ocean Master later. I think this movie should have been Aquaman versus Black Manta. Because I feel like lots of movie studios don't want to make a superhero movie where the stakes are relatively small. Every superhero movie needs to have almost world-ending stakes. But that's not the case. Look at The Dark Knight. And really all Batman movies. They do fantastic without world-ending stakes. Because Batman's, when on his solo adventures, they aren't really world-ending adventures, They're more like city-ending adventures. We could have had a just different adventure with Aquaman, Maybe have a movie just with Black Manta and Aquaman. Or maybe a movie just with Ocean Master and Aquaman. And then save the other one for the next movie. I didn't feel like we needed them both in the same film. They're both too big to share the screen. They're absolutely too big to share the screen. So final thoughts on Aquaman. It's aight. Give it a watch. Maybe don't buy the collector's edition. But, I enjoyed it. I absolutely enjoyed it. It just wasn't anything special. So that's it. Thank you all once again for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out all the links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Remember to check out our sponsor, comicsplusofmacon.com, for lots of cool collectibles. Hashtag Gucci Gang. And use coupon code HuntRocksMySocks to get 10% off your order. That's all one word, and the beginning of each individual word is capitalized. That's it. Thank you all once again. See y'all later.